Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hi, this is Christopher Kimball from Milk Street Radio. I often shop at Whole Foods Market since they sell the kind of food I like. Organic vegetables, a great meat counter, and of course, a great staff. For Thanksgiving, Whole Foods offers brine turkeys, as well as a spiral-cut bone-in ham. The Whole Foods Market Bakery has a large assortment of pies, even a vegan pumpkin pie, or grab some brioche and butterflake rolls for the table as well. Or you can ask the Whole Foods team to cater your meal for you, including the bird, the sides, and desserts. Get your holiday party started at Whole Foods Market.
The DSW Black Friday sale is on. Take 30% off almost everything in stores and online right now. Yep, you heard that right, 30% off. Stock up on new shoes, bags, and extras for you and yours from all the gift-worthy brands you love. But hurry, Black Friday can't last forever. Get to your DSW store or DSW.com ASAP to save big. Exclusions apply. Details at DSW.com.
It took a lifetime to find the person you want to marry. Finding the perfect engagement ring is a lot easier. At BlueNile.com, you can find or design the ring you've always dreamed of with help from Blue Nile's jewelry experts who are on hand 24/7 to answer questions. And the ease and convenience of shopping online. For a limited time, get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com. That's $50 off with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com.
Husband!
Wife!
Do you know what we're doing today?
Well, amazingly, we just finished an entire book of the Bible
in one day.
In one fucking day.
One episode.
Yeah.
Boom.
There go Obadiah.
There go Obadiah.
Yeah, so that must mean that today we're doing
a Q&A and a wrap-up. Not on Saturday, because what the fuck?
That was really good.
I know, right?
I'm impressed.
That was right off the top of the old dome.
Yeah.
The potato dome.
So do you have some good questions and wrap-up stuff for us today?
I do. I have some interesting extraneous data that is probably pointless, but that I found interesting. And you probably will be like, when do you always do that? And I think that other people will be like, husband, it is interesting. Stop.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's how you think this is going to go? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go find out.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's talk about this book of Obadiah.
Okay.
So normally I would go back over the intro stuff, but that was
yesterday.
Yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do a quick recap in that it's a guy named Obadiah who may or may not have actually existed. There were like 7 other Obadiahs in the Bible mentioned.
Okay.
And it may have been one of them or it may have been none of them.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And this whole book is exactly one chapter, which takes up the front of one page.
Right.
And is only like 21 verses.
Yeah.
So
it's really fucking short.
Pretty fucking short.
Right.
And it is about judgment against Israel's brother Edom or Esau.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whom the Edomites descend from.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So the book of Obadiah is a prophecy concerning the fall and the subsequent divine judgment of Edom, a mountain-dwelling nation whose founding father was Esau.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
So we start with Edom's sin and God's judgment against them.
Okay.
And before we even hop into the first verse, though, let me just let you know, the Hebrew name Obadiah means worshiper of Yahweh or Yahweh. Sorry. Worshiper of Yahweh. or servant of Yahweh.
Oh, that's convenient.
Which is like actually kind of synonymous, worship and servant.
Right, yeah.
And fear trodden bendy boy.
The really apt names that these prophets have make me think that they weren't actual people.
Well,
maybe.
I'm going to push back on that because there's a lot of people alive today who name their kids like some really weird things.
Sure.
Like, did you hear the one about the people who they named their daughter Khaleesi, but then they couldn't get any ID for her because they were like, that's not a real name. And they were like, the hell you say? Yeah.
I didn't hear about that, no.
I want to say it was like somewhere in England or Ireland or Scotland or something like that. And they were like, no, it's a name because we said so.
Right.
And, you know, Elon Musk over there in America named his kids something like XZ241 or whatever the fuck.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people name their kids after other people.
Well, and I guess I'll push back on my own idea because I think a lot of the prophets were generally, it was kind of like a birthright to be a prophet somewhat. Like it stemmed from your lot in life at some level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe the parents would name their kids with the knowledge that they're probably going to end up being a prophet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're going to be something in the church because that's the way it goes.
Right. Yeah.
Because our family is of the church.
Right.
So it's kind of like naming your kid Winner.
Yeah.
You are going to be that.
Yeah. So either they were completely indoctrinated insofar as like all the way to the name, their name that their parents gave them, or they were kind of made up.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, that could be.
That's how I see it anyway.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the Edomites a little bit.
Yeah.
They were the people descended from Esau, the son of Isaac and Rebekah, and the brother of Jacob.
Okay.
That story was all talked about in Genesis chapter 25.
Right.
You know, the twin that was supposed to have the birthright, but Jacob, the son of a bitch, ends up being like the sympathetic good guy. Like we're supposed to like be like, yay, Jacob. And I'm like, but you were a rat fuck from the day one.
Yeah.
You know?
He was kind of an asshole.
It struck me again as I was like studying this, like, wait, you actually weren't the good guy like ever, but you're the main character that we're supposed to like, oh yes, we are talking about Jacob's story.
Yeah.
Like poor Esau still, you know?
But Esau got fucked then and he's getting fucked now.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, justice for Esau is what I'm going to say. So Esau was nicknamed Edom, which means red. And we talked about that at the time because dude had red hair.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And we talked about that way back in Genesis. That was something that I brought to the table.
I vaguely remember that.
I didn't remember it till I read it and I was like, oh yeah.
Right.
So Esau eventually settled in the area of Mount Seir and absorbed a people known as the Horites. And that was discussed in Genesis chapter 36.
Okay.
When Israel came out of Egypt and wanted to pass through the land of the Edomites to enter into the promised land,
right,
the Edomites wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
And probably because Esau was like, no, fuck you, Jacob.
Yeah.
You have my birthright. Like, go around.
Right.
You know, you don't get to have everything. So that was described in Numbers chapter 20.
Sure.
Okay. The Edomites opposed Saul and were conquered under David and Solomon. And that was covered in 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, and 1 Kings.
Okay.
In the days of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, Edom joined with Moab and Ammon to attack Judah, but the Lord fought for Judah and defeated them. And that was described in 2 Chronicles.
Okay.
Then the Edomites successfully rebelled against King Jehoram of Judah, and that was in 2 Kings. Oh, but King Amaziah of Judah brought them back under subjugation. Womp, womp.
Man.
That was again in 2 Kings.
Right.
The Edomites again attacked Judah in the days of King Ahaz in 2 Chronicles. And the Edomites fought side by side with the Jews in the rebellion against Rome in AD 66 to 70 and were crushed by Rome, never to be heard of as a people again, which rendered the predictions of Obadiah chapter 1 verses 10 and 18 true. And I'll read those verses.
Sure, but the timing is, and the manner in which it happened is kind of questionable.
I don't want to hear your shit.
Because they were fighting with the Israelites.
Yes, but listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
So verse 10 of Obadiah reads, because of the violence against your brother Jacob, you will be covered with shame and you will be destroyed forever. Someday.
Yeah, sure.
And that someday came true when it happened.
When they were helping the Israelites.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the 80s.
Yeah. That makes no fucking sense.
Oh, you just stop now.
Okay.
The Bible's always right, good, and true.
No.
Okay, and verse 18 reads, Jacob will be a fire and Joseph a flame. Esau will be a stubble and they will set him on fire and destroy him. There will be no survivors from Esau. The Lord has spoken.
I see.
Trash.
Uh-huh.
And then guess what? Several hundred years later, it happened. Wow.
That was more than several hundred. It was like going on over 500.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry, I had to math it. No,
right,
you're right. Yeah. All right. So verse 3, we're going back to the beginning of the book now. Okay. Verse 3 and 4 read, the pride of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rocks and make your home on the heights. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? Though you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord.
I'm assuming this is because they lived around where Mount Seir is. It was very mountainous land.
Yep. Okay. We're going to talk about that because that city is fucking cool.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh. And that's what I'm bringing to the table as my extraneous data. Okay. So the Edomites didn't have all that much to be proud of, according to, the people
who didn't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The apologist who wrote the note that I'm reading from.
That's not very trustworthy, in my opinion.
Okay. No. I, again, sourced this from more than one place, but there was an apologist that was like, they didn't have that much to be proud of. They were a small, relatively poor and insignificant nation. So insignificant that they were named in the Bible. And they were the brother of Jacob and Israel.
Right, yeah.
Very insignificant.
And they were powerful enough at one point that they stopped the Israelites from going through their land.
Very insignificant.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yet, what they could be proud of, they were. And they had some shit to be proud of.
Okay.
They were not actually insignificant.
Well, I mean, as you were saying that, I guess my thoughts went immediately to like the Native Americans, right? And like how they could be considered insignificant in today's society, right? As far as the quantity of and how they've been treated and where they've been subjugated to live and all this, right?
Sure.
But they have a lot of pride. They have a lot of, And they have a lot to be proud of. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean...
It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
Who's telling the story.
Exactly. And that's I don't like the way this is that apologist decided to, phrase that.
Yeah. Totally agree. So they lived in an area of great natural fortifications and strength. So they boasted about the clefts of the rocks around them.
Sure.
Okay. Enclosed by towering rocks and watered by a perennial stream, their city controlled the main commercial routes which passed through it.
Oh.
So they were not insignificant.
Right. Sounds like they actually had a lot of power, maybe.
Yeah. The commercial routes that passed through it led to Gaza in the west, to Damascus in the north, to important cities on the Red Sea, and across the desert to what we now call the Persian Gulf. So they were a major hub. So fuck off. Their city not only served as a trading hub, but also possessed the advantages of a fortress, because of where they were located with the rocks and the caves, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the Edomites also, those bitches, they boasted about their secure defenses. The ancient city of Petra. This is so cool. I'm just like wowed out over this, okay? The ancient city of Petra, once the capital city of Edom, known as Selah, I'm not sure, had amazing defenses. It is a city carved into the rock, accessible by a narrow canyon almost a mile long. At the end of the canyon, there is a spectacular city carved in stone and seemingly incapable of being conquered by any army.
Wow.
Petra is the Greek word for rock, and it has the same root as, petrified.
Right.
Like petrified wood, petrified forest.
Sure.
Petrified meaning scared stiff.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Sure.
So Petra, that city of rock, is a historic and archaeological city in southern Jordan, Famous for its rock-cut architecture and water conduit systems, Petra is also called the Rose City because of the color of the sandstone from which it is carved.
Huh.
The city is one of the new 7 wonders of the world.
Wow.
And a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow.
Right? Like, I got goosebumps reading that out loud.
Yeah, sounds like that apologist, like, really undersold the
importance and longevity of this place.
Yeah. Right.
So the Edomite site excavated at the top of the el Bayara mountain at Petra was established no earlier than the 7th century BCE. The area around Petra has been inhabited from as early as 7000 BCE and was settled by a nomadic Arab people in the 4th century BCE.
Okay.
Petra is listed in various Egyptian campaign accounts dating from the Bronze Age, and the Bronze Age lasted about 2,000 years from 3300 BCE to 1200 BCE, just to put that in context.
Sure.
The Iron Age lasted between 1200 and 600 BCE, and in that time period, the Petra area was occupied by the Edomites. Okay. The configuration of mountains in Petra allowed for a reservoir of water for the Edomites. Like I said, they had that perpetual stream just coming in.
Yeah.
So they had fresh water right in their little city, just flowing all the time.
Very cool.
This made Petra a stopping ground for merchants, making it an outstanding area for trade. Items of trade included wines, olive oil, and wood. I'm so sorry, but why were they insignificant? Fuck off.
Sounds like they had a lot
to be proud of.
Yeah, definitely.
Initially, the Edomites were accompanied by nomads who eventually left, but the Edomites stayed and made their mark on Petra. Petra would later become the capital city of the Nabatean kingdom in the 2nd century BCE.
Okay.
The Nabateans invested in Petra's proximity to the incense trade routes by establishing it as a major regional trading hub, which gained them considerable revenue. Unlike their enemies, the Nabateans were accustomed to living in the barren deserts and thus were able to defend their kingdom. They were particularly skillful in agriculture, stone carving, and rainwater harvesting. Petra flourished in the 1st century AD, but fell to the Romans, as we've already said, in 106 AD, but annexed and renamed it as Arabia Petraea.
Okay.
As the Romans do.
Right.
Petra's importance declined as sea trade routes emerged and after an earthquake in 363 AD destroyed many of the structures.
That's sad.
Right? In the Byzantine era, several Christian churches were built, but the city continued to decline, and by the early Islamic era, it was abandoned except for a handful of nomads.
I think it's Byzantine.
Is it?
I believe so.
Okay.
But I don't want to say that like with 100% authority, but I think that's Byzantine.
Byzantine?
Yeah.
I always say Byzantine. I believe you. And I apologize.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, you know how I'm better in my head than out loud. The city remained unknown to the Western world until 1812.
Oh, wow.
When Swiss traveler Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered it.
Huh.
The fuck, right?
Yeah.
Local folklore says this city was created by the wand of Moses when he struck the rock to bring forth water for the Israelites.
Oh, wow.
And is where Moses' brother Haran, or Aaron, is buried at Mount Hor, known today as Jabal Haran or Mount Aaron.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
The Wadi Musa, or Wadi of Moses, is the Arab name for the narrow valley at the head of which Petra is sited. A mountaintop shrine of Moses' sister Miriam was still shown to pilgrims at the time of Jerome in the 4th century, but its location has not been identified since.
But still, that's really interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, everything about this city is cool.
Yeah.
New evidence indicates that broader Edomite and thus Nabatean theology had strong links to Earth-Sun relationships, often manifested in the orientation of prominent Petra structures to equinox and solstice sunrises and sunsets.
Okay.
Kind of like how we discovered oh shit, Stonehenge. How
Right.
we discovered, it's not just a random circle of stones. They're actually a fucking calendar. My bad.
You said manifested. I don't know that word. Is that a...
Manifested.
Manifested. Okay.
Manifested.
You said manifested.
Well, that's how I be. I got
Sorry, I wasn't sure, but I thought maybe that was the wrong word.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm doing a lot of fuck ups.
It's okay.
I think my brain is regressing, quite honestly. Maybe I'm like RFK and I got a brain worm.
There you go. Yeah.
So anyway, these folks were they were worshiping sun and moon gods and goddesses.
Okay.
Much like the later Greeks and Romans.
Right.
So location, fortification, those are things that the Edomites boasted about. They also boasted about their wisdom. The men of Edom, especially of the city Taman, were noted for their wisdom. The phrase, quote, men of the East, which has been something we've heard in the Old Testament, often refers to men from Edom, and passages like 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 30 declare the great wisdom of the men of the East. And I'm going to read that verse. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. So that's who they were talking about, these Edomites.
Okay.
Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then also in Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 7, it says, concerning Edom, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Is there no longer wisdom in Taman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom decayed? So, I mean, they were very much known for their wisdom, and I guess that's why they boasted about it.
Right.
Insignificant, huh? So location, fortification, and wisdom were all sources of great pride for the Edomites.
Okay.
And then they got in trouble for being too awesome.
Yeah.
And not letting son of a bitch Jacob people travel through their land.
Right.
Like, that's what this really was about, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they were seen biblically as an enemy of the Israelites and Jacob.
But if we look back to the very fucking beginnings, I'm kind of on Edom's side.
I
would like to hear their story. How about that?
No, I think that's the part that's when you read strictly from the biblical perspective, is that you're missing out on the stories of these other groups of people that existed and had their own stories. Right. That's the part that you miss out on.
Well, and I hate that like they're like, yeah, and Jacob was a son of a bitch and stole the birthright, and isn't that great? And Jews descend from him to this day, and they're a great people. And I'm like, hold on, rewind just a sec. What? Right. Why is he a hero again now? Why is he great? Well,
and that's something that I personally have thought about, is that because you know how much I love history.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do, like, if we were doing this full time, I would love, like, as far as we had full time to dedicate to the podcast as opposed to doing it in our spare time, right?
Yeah.
I would love to do a series on the history of the Bible, but by the history of the Bible, I mean the history surrounding the Bible.
Like, what was happening actually in the world that we're not talking about in the Bible?
Yeah, when something comes up, I'd rather talk about, like, take what I would love to do is take the timeline of the Bible, right? And then take the things that the people that interact with the Israelites and talk about those events, talk about those people, talk about those cultures.
From a historical reference point instead of the biblical reference point.
Yeah, we can use the Bible as a timeline reference, but talk about the other side of it. Talk about the other cultures, right? Yeah. Real quick, though, speaking of which, you said something about the Romans being sun and moon worshippers. You know, they were only, like, after they conquered the Edomites, which you said was 66 CE, I believe, or thereabouts.
I already don't remember.
Or no, it was like 10 something. It was 100 something.
I'm sorry, I don't hold numbers.
No, that's all right, but it was 100 something. So, but the Romans actually became Christian more or less shortly after the 300 CE timeframe. So they were only like actually worshiping Roman gods for like maybe another couple hundred years after that.
That's very interesting.
So, just FYI.
Because like we always associate the Romans with the Greeks, and they all had the same gods and goddesses.
More ish. Yeah, they were different names, but yeah.
Right, but they serve the same purposes.
Right, yeah.
And so in my head, that's just what they do. And I never thought of the Romans as becoming Christian.
Well, and the Greeks would have probably too, right? Because they had the Greek Septuagint, like it became Greek Orthodox Church. Like there's a whole Greek aspect to the.
No, you're right. Of course, when we call them Christian, we're referring to Catholicism, not the Christianity of the Americas as we know it today.
Right.
And that's an important distinction to make because it ain't the same.
Right, right.
And it's actually, Catholicism is quite pagan and is where the early adoption of turning the Greek and Roman religions into something that they could all practice together.
Yeah.
That's where that all started.
Right.
So again, the Christianity in the Americas today is not the same as the source of where it sprang from.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
It's just, I forget that. Like when they're like, blah, 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 they became Christian. And I'm like, oh, but wait a minute. We need a different word. They became Christian, yes, but different Christian from what today is. They became Catholic. They became very early, still pagan.
Sure. Sure.
They became monotheistic and called it Christianity, which eventually developed into what America calls it today.
Right.
That's just a whole sentence that I need to keep in my head that I always forget about.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Sure.
Okay, so we're leaving Petra behind, but it's always going to be in my heart. All right, so we're moving on, and then God gives his judgment against Edom and says it'll be complete. Okay? So God further states that no remnant will remain and that the enemy will search out his people and totally subdue them, and that none of their allies will stand by them. Though they suck and they'll be alone.
See, that's where it goes wrong, though, right? Because they were literally allied with, the Israelites.
The Nebaeans and,
So, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. When the enemy soldiers plunder Edom, they will take everything. They will seize even the treasures that the Edomites have hidden in caves in the mountains. Edom prided itself in its political skill and military strategy. Its leaders thought they were cleverer than the leaders of neighboring nations and often used their cunning to cheat their allies, those cheaters.
From the perspective of someone who doesn't like them.
Yeah. Right. And who would rather be the one doing the cheating.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheaters always accuse others of cheating.
How do you cheat at war anyway? I don't really understand that concept exactly.
I don't know.
I mean, there are bad ways to wage wars, I suppose. Well, in polite society, we
have war crimes today.
Yeah,
and so if somebody commits war crimes, we would consider that a form of cheating at war.
Definitely, but again, I think war is an atrocity in and of itself. Right?
It's like we've agreed how to kill each other. There are only certain things that we can do when we agree to kill each other. What?
Yeah,
it's such a weird concept.
It is. And it isn't, but it is.
As long as we're going to kill each other, let's agree to do it as nicely as possible, but only sometimes and under certain circumstances. Yeah. And I mean, if either one of us can get away with cheating, totally that's fine.
Well, yeah. And countries push the boundaries all the time, even today. So
I'm like, so why not just not? Why are we pretending that murder in stages is okay?
Right.
Why don't we stop calling it war with human rights and stuff. And why don't we just call it murdering nations? We're going at murder. Everybody, sign up for the military and support your country and murder today.
Yeah. I think even the most, let's take World War II, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Even the Allied side did some horrific things, right? We always hear the wonderful shit that the Allies did, right?
Sure. The greatest generation.
Right. But I mean, if you've ever read Kurt Vonnegut and you've read Slaughterhouse-Five,
yes,
you are familiar with the Dresden bombings,
yes,
right? And that was a horrific thing that the Allies did. Mm-hmm. Now it was in a battle against a horrific enemy as well, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we did something terrible to human beings,
right?
We did, we absolutely did,
yeah.
And there's no denying that fact, and it's. No matter how you cut it, it is terrible, and you can go through history. And I know that, we all like as people in our own countries, we love to love our country, generally speaking.
Sure.
I'm not saying that that's across the board.
You want to be proud of where you came from and glad that, your country is a place that you can call home.
Sure. But part of my political awakening was realizing that the United States isn't perfect. The United States is far from perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we fuck up a lot. We fuck over people a lot. Like, it's a thing that happens in our country where we do things wrong.
Yeah.
And it affects entire cultures, and it's just one of, like, to me, there is no correct war.
No.
War is just bad, no matter what. And we should do everything we can to possibly avoid it.
Right.
But,
and I'm not saying that there aren't times that it's unfortunately necessary, like in self-defense or in defending weaker people.
Right.
But we only seem to do that when we have a financial interest in it. And that makes it a little less noble,
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know. We're getting off topic here.
No, definitely. But war's bad.
War is bad.
So
it's just, I understand that it's going to happen, but let's not sugarcoat it. It's not good. It's bad. There's murder. We're killing each other.
I do feel like countries are a little bit too eager to do it.
Yes.
Like as a general rule, there is way too much war in the world.
Yes.
In my opinion.
No, I don't think that's an opinion. It's literally it's anti-evolutionary going-ons.
Right,
whatever the word is. I'm speaking off the top of my stupid potato head here, okay? But it's literally the opposite of the primary directive of creatures, not just humans, but all animals,
Right. We want to live as a species.
Yes.
Therefore, we shouldn't kill each other.
Right. Like, that's just anti-science.
The social contract that we have with each other not to murder each other.
It's not just the social contract. It's the evolutionary contract.
Right.
We're supposed to eat, fuck, and procreate.
Now, you could argue, if we're going with evolutionary and societal, right, that there are diminishing resources, so that therefore it makes sense to go to war at some level too.
And pandemics fall under that too. It's the way of Earth cleansing itself and making resources available without.
There's lots of ways to argue this, but my end goal, my end point of view is always that killing people is bad.
Yeah.
It's an atrocious thing to do. And I don't care how you justify it to me. You can't.
Right.
It's not going to be justified.
Right.
Either you're killing people.
The whole peace through strength no. I'm not okay with it.
Right.
Like, you're trying to put a smiley face on a murder.
Sure.
And it doesn't work for me.
Right.
So, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
So they cheated their allies at war, whatever that means. Their shame and defeat will therefore be all the greater when they discover that some of these neighboring nations whom they thought were trusted allies have betrayed them and helped bring about their downfall.
But that's not how it ended up, though.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just double checking.
Those fucking Edomites.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, justice for Esau. Okay?
Right.
So then I'm going to read verse 9. Your warriors, Taman, will be terrified, and everyone in Esau's mountains will be cut down in the slaughter. So Esau's mountains is Mount Seir. Okay, that's what we're talking about there. Yeah. Okay, so then we talk about why judgment is coming against Edom, as if we haven't already, said enough.
Right.
Obadiah explains why God will punish Edom so severely. When the Babylonian armies attacked and plundered Jerusalem, Edom did nothing to help its brother nation, instead helping the attackers. So glad were they to see Jerusalem plundered, even joining in the plundering themselves. Worse, they helped the Babylonians capture Jerusalem by cutting off the escape route of those who tried to flee.
Wait, now we're back to Babylon conquering. So it's not when they were still around and allied with the Israelites in whatever time frame that was when they were fighting the Romans.
Right.
We're now back to this is where I struggle with the things that apologists put together, right? So they're like, no, it's this thing. No, wait, it's that thing. Wait, it's probably, I don't know, both of those things.
Obadiah we think written during the Babylonian exile.
No, I get it.
The thing that we were talking about with the Romans, that was facts that I threw in later that are outside of the Bible and Bible curriculum.
Because they never got fully conquered.
Right.
Or they never got fully destroyed.
They did not get destroyed until they teamed up with Rome or whatever.
Right.
So that was way later in the AD.
Right.
Or no.
They teamed up with the Israelites.
Yes. And got conquered by Rome.
Right.
My bad. Sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we're going to talk about the deliverance on Mount Zion and a promise of judgment against Edom. We keep making this promise. It's coming. Judgment coming. Okay. God then expands on their particular offense and threatens them with speedy recourse, which doesn't seem very speedy to me. In the day of the Lord, God will intervene in human affairs and punish sinners according to their sins. The Edomites celebrated their plunder of Jerusalem by holding wild drinking parties among the ruins of the temple on Mount Zion. They, as well as Jerusalem's other enemies, will now be drunk in a different way. They will drink the cup of God's wrath.
Oh, no.
Until, unable to stand any longer, they will stagger and fall.
I see.
Okay?
Yeah.
So God will use Israel to bring judgment against Edom.
Got it.
Is what we're about to talk about here.
Okay.
And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
The Babylonians accordingly subdued the Edomites and expelled them from Arabia, Petra, of which they never afterwards recovered possession. And I'm like,
got it.
If you say so. Having punished Jerusalem's enemies, God says he will release his people from captivity and bring them back to their homeland. He will restore holiness to Mount Zion, but send a fitting judgment upon Edom. He will destroy Edom as a fire burns up a field of dry grass. From Jerusalem, the reestablished Israelite nation will expand south into Edomite territory, west over Philistine territory, north over its own territory that the Philistines had seized, and east across Jordan to retake former territory there. Captives will be taken from various camps in foreign countries and resettled permanently in their own land from Phoenicia in the north to the Negev in the south. So I'm going to read verse 18.
Okay.
Jacob will be a fire and Joseph a flame. Esau will be stubble and they will set him on fire and destroy him. There will be no survivors from Esau. The Lord has spoken. I already read that earlier, but I'm wanting to reference it again.
Got it. Yeah.
After their return from captivity, the Jews, called here the house of Jacob and the house of Joseph, did break out as a flame upon the Edomites. They reduced them into slavery and obliged them to receive circumcision and to practice the rites of the Jewish religion. Now, we're going to be reading about that in 1st and 2nd Maccabean.
Oh, when we get into the
Maccabees.
Right, yeah.
Which
is the
1st and 2nd Maccabees.
Apocryphal stuff, right?
I don't know. I always forget.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with you on that. I don't think it's apocryphal. I think it's in Catholic.
It is. Yeah. So it's considered
Bibles,
apocryphal by the
Christians, but not Catholics.
Right.
Even though Catholics are Christians.
Sort of. Yeah. Yes. Ish.
Right.
Sort of.
I mean, they are. They consider themselves Christian.
Right, but Christians wouldn't consider Catholics Christian.
They do,
exactly.
But they don't. They think that they are paganish Christians.
Right, yeah.
But they still are better than heathens like you and me.
Sure.
Because at least they believe in one God and that Jesus is his son who died for their sins or whatever and came back to life, whatever, however that goes.
Right, right.
All right. So I'm going to read that was 18. Now I'm reading verse 19 again. Okay. People from the Negev will occupy the mountains of Esau, and people from the foothills will possess the land of the Philistines. They will occupy the fields of Ephraim and Samaria, and Benjamin will possess Gilead. Okay, so in this and the following verse, which I'll read in a moment, the prophet shows the different districts which should be occupied by the Israelites after their return from Babylon.
Okay.
So he's like, after you return from Babylon, you guys are going to retake all these lands.
Got it.
And I don't know that actually happened.
Right.
But
yeah.
God says it will, and these people believe it.
Sure.
Edom lay to the south, the Philistines to the west, or Philistines, I always get that wrong. Ephraim to the north, and Gilead to the east. Those who returned from Babylon were to extend themselves everywhere.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so verse 20 reads, this company of Israelite exiles who are in Canaan will possess the land as far as Zarephath. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sepharad will possess the towns of the Negev. And remember, I was like, well, I think Sepharad is the Hebrew word for Spain, but I don't know what the hell a Zarephath is.
Yeah.
So Zarephath is also Sarepta, a city of the Sidonians, mentioned in 1 Kings.
Yeah, I think the Sidonians were the ones that chopped the cedar trees and stuff, if I recall correctly.
I believe so. So they will possess the whole city of Phoenicia, called here that of the Canaanites, is what is being said.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was some argument about whether Sepharad actually means Spain. When I was reading it just from the historians and scholars, it was just, that's Spain. But then when I was reading it from the Christian apologist sources, they were like, we don't know. It might be France. It might be Spain. It might be, and they named a bunch of other countries, but those are the only two that stuck in my brain.
Got it.
But I was just like, okay.
Well, so,
Spain then.
Right. But it sounds like maybe that is because there was never any evidence of that happening, probably. And they're like, we don't know what it, like if they don't know, then it could be explained away, right?
I guess. I don't know. The historians and scholars are the people I'm going to trust, not the apologists who just
right.
shit
Well, that's
out
what I'm
ideas.
saying. Like the apologists would, if it never happened, they're going to be like, well, we don't know what that means exactly, right? But then the scholars would be like, yeah, that's Spain.
Yeah. We studied Hebrew, and that's what that means.
Right.
So go fuck yourself. I mean, that's what I would say if I knew Hebrew.
Sure.
And I was learning words and reading the Bible, and I knew that was Spain. I would say to apologists, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm crude like that.
Sure.
All right. About to finish up here.
Okay.
The final verse in this whole entire book of one chapter is about the saviors coming to Mount Zion. The final verse contains a prophecy of the restoration of the Jews from Babylonian captivity and of Israel's victory over all their former enemies. The end.
Isn't that just wonderful? Yep.
So that's it. That's the book of Obadiah.
Okay.
That is a Q&A and a book recap.
I actually, after listening to your information there, kind of want to see that city.
I know, right?
Like that is really cool.
I want to see Petra.
I definitely am going to look up some pictures.
Yeah, I looked up pictures too. It's really neat.
Yeah. It reminded me as you were talking about it. I don't know if you were, so like one of my favorite movie series when I was younger was the Harrison Ford. He's the Indiana Jones. Yeah. But there was one at the last one where his dad was with them, and it was the
Indiana Jones and the
Last Crusade. Yeah, and there was like this beautiful like carved in area that was in rocks, and like it was a hidden thing. And I was thinking of that as you were saying it.
I wonder if that's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to you on that.
No, it reminded me of that movie because
that wasn't the final movie. You said it was the last one, but it wasn't the last.
No, you're
right.
One. You're right. But last one, as I was when I was younger.
Sure.
But yeah, but that's what I was thinking of the whole time.
Okay, I'm probably going to piss off everybody here, but I really enjoyed the most recent one, The Dial of Destiny. It actually made me cry because I just felt like it felt a lot like the original series.
It did. And
it was fun. It had the same tone and mood. Now, granted, I was watching it with my husband and with my kid, and so that could have lent to it. But I appreciated it, and it brought the right mood, and it was fun, and I loved it.
I think it was what it was, right?
Yes.
It was a callback to a movie franchise that we loved when we were younger, and it did all the right things to call back those memories.
Having said that, I didn't really love the one prior to that.
Right.
So I don't just have the nostalgia. If it's nostalgia, I love it for the sake of loving it.
Sure.
Just to be clear, I think it was something about Crystal Skull.
I honestly don't remember what that one is.
It had Oh, I forget the kid's name in it.
Sure.
Miles Teller, maybe? I could be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't love that. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. This last one, The Dial of Destiny, I absolutely loved. And you can hate me and cut me off if you want. And I'm fine with that. I said what I said and no regrets.
Right.
Okay.
Well, on that note, I think we have covered Obadiah pretty well here.
I think we did too.
But we do still have one more episode in the series, which will be...
You're always wrong if I can find anything that says so.
Or our contradictions episode, which we will be back tomorrow with.
And because... No, yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on Wednesday night will be our... live Discord at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
I always get that confused, the recording versus the publishing.
Right. And that will be obviously the night before Thanksgiving. So if you're able to join us, definitely do. Some people will have some time off. Maybe this is the time where you can find, some time to come join us that night. Right. So hopefully we'll see you there. Link is always in the show notes, so go check that out. And then... and
we'll be covering our Patreon episode, which is the continuation of the series, Cults versus Religion.
Yes.
So you definitely want to stay tuned for that.
Right. Yeah, it was good stuff. So, all right. Well, we'll see you guys then.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Bye.
As a busy mom, there are lots of ways you can help yourself fall asleep. You could stare blankly at the ceiling and replay every conversation you've ever had, count sheep, have a debate with your pillow, give up caffeine, try acupuncture, and buy a weighted blanket that will make you sweat profusely. Or you could try some milk, which has nutrients that support healthy sleep. Visit GonnaNeedMilk.com for more info, and for everyone's sake, please don't give up caffeine. As a busy mom, there are a few ways you can build strong muscles. You could get a gym membership, which you'll never use, buy all sorts of expensive equipment for your garage that you'll forget you have, pay for a personal trainer that you'll never have time to meet with, and buy a fitness watch that only makes you sad every time you look at it. Or you could go for an easy run and try some milk, which helps build strong muscles. Visit GonnaNeedMilk.com for more info. And please, don't make yourself sad.
You've been waiting all year, and the moment is finally here. Boll & Branch is the bedding brand for better sleep, and their best sale of the year is happening now. Right now, you can get 25% off the organic cotton sheets loved by millions of sleepers. They feel breathable, luxuriously soft, and get softer with every wash. Shop Boll & Branch's cyber event with extended returns for the holiday season. Hurry to bollandbranch.com and use code BUTTERY for 25% off everything. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.